Everybody can get their seats. We'll get started. A quorum being present, the committee will be in order pursuant to notice. The committee is meeting to consider the committee rules of the 118th Congress and Committee Resolution 1, the staff hiring resolution. Without objection, any requests for a recorded vote may be rolled to the end of the meeting, and the committee may recess at any point. I now recognize myself to make an opening statement. I'd like to welcome the members of the Committee of Homeland Security to the 118th Congress, both our new members and those returning. I am honored to lead this Committee on Homeland Security. After a career dedicated to serving our country, I'm fortunate to be joined too by a group of talented members who bring unique perspectives and experiences from across our great country to advance our mission. And I thank the Ranking Member Thompson and all our members for the collaboration in finalizing our committee's rules so that we can get on to the business of holding the administration accountable and protecting the security of our homeland. Stood up in response to the tragic terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, the Department of Homeland Security is tasked with a critical role of protecting Americans from dynamic and persistent threats. This committee must ensure that DHS is fulfilling that mission in the defense of our homeland, a role that leaves no room for error. This committee has traditionally been one of great bipartisanship. Securing the homeland is an American imperative, and I hope for productive partnership where possible with my Democrat colleagues. Where there is disagreement, Homeland Republicans will be respectful, but will be forceful in offering our vision and our solutions. The stakes are too high for any other approach. We must recognize the pressing crises created by the situation and the threats to our homeland in unprecedented ways at our southern border. No longer will the committee tolerate the total dereliction of duty that has happened at our southern border. For over 2 years, at our southern border, there's been no semblance of law and order. Ensuring the sovereignty and integrity of our traditional borders is not a radical concept. We are a nation of laws, and the willful erosion of those laws is counterproductive to the fabric of our society. Border security is national security. We must know who and what is coming across our borders and through our ports of entry to keep Americans safe. The lack of support from the department and the Biden administration for the brave agents of the U.S. Border Patrol has been infuriating to witness. These men and women work tirelessly as they're forced to contend with the traumatic human toll of the border crisis on a daily basis, all while being vilified by appointees in the Biden administration and the media. There have been over 4.5 million migrant encounters since the Biden administration took office. Just this last December, CBP encountered the highest monthly total of migrants in the agency's history. Fentanyl and other deadly drugs continue to pour through our open southwest border, killing hundreds of thousands of Americans and destroying lives all over our country. Perhaps most alarming is the growing number of known and suspected terrorists attempting to enter the country between ports of entry, 98 in fiscal year 22 and 38 already in the first 3 months of this fiscal year. We will legislate as part of our commitment to America to empower rather than degrade and abandon our brave CBP personnel and frontline law enforcement. We will address the unimpeded flow of migrants and drugs to protect our homeland and our people. And make no mistake, we will absolutely hold the Biden administration and Secretary Mayorkas accountable for their negligence. We must also work further to secure our cyber border. Over the past few years, malicious foreign adversaries have made significant threats to our critical infrastructure. Cyber attacks continue to increase their sophistication and persistence, and if we don't have a sufficient defensive scheme in place, the outcome could be catastrophic. And I know this is a concern that is shared by both sides of the aisle, and I look forward to building on the committee's record of significant bipartisanship as we legislate success in the cyber area. Cybersecurity remains a top priority for our new House majority, especially on this committee, and I want to thank Speaker McCarthy for his leadership in taking bold action to strengthen this committee's cybersecurity jurisdiction in this year's House Rules package. Our charge has never been clearer. We will work to responsibly mature CISA, provide oversight of other component cybersecurity functions, and strengthen the security of our federal networks and critical infrastructure. This can be done without overly burdening the private sector, which is why I remain concerned with the Biden administration's regulatory approach. We will focus on building trust, partnership, transparency, rather than duplicative and ineffective regulatory schemes. Further, our oversight and legislative agenda will take a fresh look at DHS as a whole, with the goal of reforming it into an agency that is competent in and worthy of protecting Americans. As I said earlier, I hope for bipartisanship and look forward to working together, but we will hold this administration accountable for its shortcomings, especially at the department. Finally, considering recent events, I want to make it clear to all members of this committee how seriously I take classified material. As a former special operator, I know that anytime classified material is leaked or not stored properly, it creates a potential risk to the lives of men and women who serve our great nation. I will not tolerate any member jeopardizing classified information. We're here to do a serious job and will be presented with sensitive information, so it must be handled as such. While we may disagree on policy or approach for securing our homeland, that doesn't mean we need to be disagreeable. And I ask all members, both sides of the aisle, to remember why we're here today and every day, and to remain focused on facts and policy rather than on personal attacks. This committee's assignment will involve the most important work each of us will engage in throughout our time in Congress, and I am grateful for being entrusted with this task. I'm excited to get to work. I now recognize the ranking member of the committee, the gentleman from Mississippi, a friend of mine who lives not very far from where I grew up and where my parents still live, to make his opening statement. Mr. Ranking Member.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and welcome back to the committee. I want to welcome all of my colleagues to this session of the 118th. It's a wonderful opportunity to be on this committee, to take the charge seriously, and I look forward to working with you. As you no doubt recall from your service during the 116th Congress, this committee has a tradition and culture of bipartisanship because the mission of protecting the homeland knows no party affiliation or ideology. Last Congress, when John Katko was my partner as ranking member, he said this committee was, quote, where we could rise above partisanship for the good of the American people, unquote. Mr. Chairman, you will be just the fifth person to serve as chair of the Homeland Security Committee, which means you have a great opportunity to shape the committee's work and reputation. I appreciate how you have already set out to make bipartisan cooperation a key part of your tenure, and ahead of today's meeting, worked with me on a modest refinements to the committee's rule. I extend my hand in partisanship and commitment to try and find common ground whenever and wherever possible, just as Democratic leader Jeffries is doing with Speaker McCarthy. This Congress, we are fortunate to be joined by so many new faces that will add to the impressive legacy of this committee. Committee Democrats bring a wealth of personal and professional experience to this panel. I look forward to working with them to address the whole range of issues confronting the nation. While border security is an important DHS mission, the department has a wide range of critical missions that also demand attention. They include counterterrorism, domestic violent extremism, cybersecurity, infrastructure security, aviation and maritime security, and disaster preparedness and response. Last Congress, this committee successfully shepherded nearly 50 bills into law that address issues as varied as cybersecurity and school security. As we begin our work this Congress, I would encourage members to keep in mind that natural disasters and terrorist threats are not to be confined to the southwest border. Even as we rightfully give attention to conditions at the southwest border, we owe it to our constituents to work together on a full range of issues that concern them, their families, and communities. This month marks 20 years since I was first appointed to this committee. At that time, it was a select committee formed in the wake of 9/11 terrorist attack. Over the past 2 decades, I've seen the threat landscape evolve from being dominated by foreign terrorist organizations like Al-Qaeda and ISIS to the emergence of homegrown violent extremists, including some who participated in the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol. We owe it to our constituents to remain vigilant regarding the full range of security challenges we face, including emanating from within our borders. With that, Mr. Chair, I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Ranking Member, and I'm going to take a second of personal privilege and just say, in terms of our mechanism of interacting with one another, while we may disagree at times, a reminder for everyone that if we feel ourselves getting frustrated with a colleague across the aisle, there are 760,000 Americans who sent them to this body. And if we're getting frustrated with that individual who sees the world a little differently than us, you're really getting frustrated with those 760,000 Americans. So if you keep that in mind, we can disagree on issues, but not be disagreeable. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, or Mr. Ranking Member, for your comments. I now recognize, thank you, Ranking Member Thompson, and other members of the committee are reminded the opening statements may be submitted for the record. I now recognize the Ranking Member for the colloquy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to speak out of order to engage in a colloquy with you on a number of procedural issues.
Without objection, the gentleman is recognized for the purpose of engaging in a colloquy.
Mr. Chairman, can you clarify how the committee will approach subpoenas and deposition in the 118th Congress? I yield to the chairman.
I thank the gentleman, and as the Ranking Member and I have discussed, I look forward to engaging in bipartisan collaboration where we can find agreement, as has been the tradition of this committee. It is our duty to ensure there's a proper oversight over the department and that there is transparency with Congress and the American people. Regarding the committee's subpoena authority, I pledge the same commitment to the Ranking Member that he pledged last Congress as chair. When practical, the full committee will meet to consider subpoenas, and only in exigent circumstances would I move to issue a subpoena outside of the committee meeting. And in that event, that the committee must issue a subpoena outside of a committee meeting, I pledge to do so in consultation with the Ranking Member. With regard to deposition authority, consistent with House rules and regulations, I will provide notice of not less than 3 days to the Ranking Member before a deposition is taken to afford the minority staff the opportunity to participate in such proceedings and to claim equally divided questioning time. With that, I yield back to the Ranking Member.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, what can members and witnesses expect with regard to administering oaths to witnesses? I yield to the chairman.
I thank the Ranking Member for the question. All witnesses who testify before this committee are considered to be under oath to testify fully. However, given the serious national security issues before this committee and the importance of reminding witnesses of their oath, I intend to formally swear in all witnesses that appear before this committee. And it is my expectation that subcommittee chairs will do the same. I yield back.
Mr. Chairman, understanding the change in the House rules with regard to remote witnesses, I know that there are some situations where a witness may need to appear remotely. Would you commit to advancing requests for remote witnesses to your leadership should the situation demand? I yield to the chairman.
I commit to you, the Ranking Member, to expeditiously consider a request for a remote witness under the new strict requirements imposed by the House rules and regulations. I will take requests that meet those requirements forward to the Majority Leader, who is, as you know, the ultimate decision maker on such requests, as required by the House rules and regulations. I will allow such witnesses to participate remotely with approval of the Majority Leader. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Finally, the committee has had a long-standing practice of allowing members of the full committee to be on a case-by-case basis, non-voting participants at subcommittee proceedings if they do not sit on the subcommittee. Will that practice continue this committee? I yield to the chairman.
I thank the Ranking Member, and I deeply value the contributions of everyone. And the committee's flexibility of accommodating requests for subcommittee participation will continue this Congress. As such participation requires unanimous consent, members are encouraged to submit any request to join a subcommittee's proceedings as a non-voting participant to me or my staff at least one day before the subcommittee proceeding, as consultation may take place.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
As previously noted, there are two organizational matters for the committee's consideration today for which I understand there has been bipartisan agreement. Without objection, I now call up the following measures to be considered in block: the committee's rules for the 118th Congress and Committee Regulation 1, the staff hiring resolution. The clerk shall designate the measures in block.
Committee Rules and Committee Resolution 1.
Without objection, the first reading is dispensed with. The measures were circulated in advance and printed copies are available. No amendments to these measures were pre-filed with the clerk. Are there any amendments to these measures at this time? Hearing none, the question now occurs on adoption of the measures in block. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it, and each measure is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Without objection, staff is authorized to make any technical and conforming changes. And before we close, I'd like to take a moment and introduce our new members and let the ranking member also introduce his side. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene from Georgia, Representative Tony Gonzalez from Texas, Representative Nick LaLota from New York, Representative Mike Ezell from Mississippi, Representative Anthony D'Esposito from New York, Representative Laurel Lee from Florida, Representative Morgan Luttrell from Texas, Representative Dale Strong from Alabama, Representative Josh Burkeen from Oklahoma, and Representative Eli Crane from Arizona. I'd also like to congratulate and recognize our subcommittee chairs for the 118th Congress. Representative Clay Higgins from Louisiana will chair the Border Security and Enforcement Subcommittee. Representative August Pfluger from Texas will chair the Counterterrorism, Law Enforcement, and Intelligence Subcommittee. Representative Andrew Garbarino from New York will chair the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Protection Subcommittee. Representative Anthony D'Esposito from New York will chair Emergency Management and Technology Subcommittee. Representative Dan Bishop from New York will chair the Oversight, Investigations, and Accountability Subcommittee. Representative Carlos Jimenez from Florida will chair the Transportation and Maritime Security Subcommittee. And lastly, I'd like to recognize our Vice Chair, Representative Michael Guest, my mom and dad's congressman from Mississippi. I now yield to the ranking member for the purpose of introducing our members from the Democrat caucus and the ranking members of the subcommittees.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm pleased to introduce our new Democratic members. Troy Carter of Louisiana, who will be the ranking member of the Emergency Management and Technology Subcommittee. Sherry Tanador of Michigan, who will be the ranking member of the Transportation and Maritime Subcommittee. Seth Magaziner of Rhode Island, who will be the ranking member of the Counterterrorism, Law Enforcement, and Intelligence Subcommittee. Glenn Ivey of Maryland, who will be the ranking member of the Oversight, Investigations, and Accountability Subcommittee. Dan Goldman of New York. Robert Garcia of California. Delia Ramirez of Illinois, who will be the vice ranking member of the full committee, and Robert Menendez of New Jersey. And we are pleased to welcome back Sheila Jackson Lee of Texas, Eric Swalwell of California, who will be the ranking member of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Protection Subcommittee, as well as Lou Correa of California, who will be the ranking member of the Border Security and Enforcement Subcommittee, Ms. Yvette Clark of New York, and Ms. Dina Titus of Nevada. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
I thank the ranking member. Without objection, I submit for the record the full list of members of the committee and each of its subcommittees. So ordered. Finally, I want to note that members have each given an oath that, pursuant to committee rules, must be executed before members may access classified information. I would ask that all members provide a signed copy of the document to the committee clerk before leaving today. There being no further business, without objection, the committee stands adjourned.
All right, so I went to congress.gov and I looked up Committee on Homeland Security and I followed the link over to the committee page. So that's where we are. And I do believe I clicked on About and I got to the members. So, got a few members we're going to look at here. I'm only pulling a couple off of I think 3 off this particular list to look at on this particular episode. So we got Mark Green and Michael McCall and Marjorie Taylor Greene are the 3 that are on this particular list I'm going to be looking at. There is another connection in reference to Michael McCall that's on another committee, and we'll get there to that point eventually. So we got Mark Green. He's the chairman of the Committee on Homeland Security. He's obviously a member of the House of Representatives. Obviously, you can find all this information. I'm not doxing him. I'm only sharing information that's available openly on the internet. As you can see, we're here at congress.gov. Okay, so nobody get all bent out of shape here. Anyway, so he's from the Nashville area there in Tennessee. We're going to take a look at some of his legislation here in a bit. Here we are in the 118th Congress, and he's already, oh, that's co-sponsored legislation. Hang on. Let me turn that off. He's got two bills. Well, we'll get to those in just a moment. I want to take an actual look into Mark Green first. So, let's see. I am not sure I'm done with that tab. So, I follow this link right here. And that takes me over to this web page. Dr. Mark Green, Congressman of Tennessee's 7th District. Serves Tennesseans. Contact me, visit DC. Mark Green is a physician, businessman, and combat veteran representing Tennessee's 7th District in Congress. All right, well, let's see what we've actually got here. Mark Green is the chairman of the Committee on Homeland Security and a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Hey, that's the other committee that's going to come into play after a while. But we'll get there. So far, Representative Green joined the following caucuses: the House Freedom Caucus, Republican Study Caucus, Special Operations Forces Caucus, GOP Doctors Caucus, Pro-Life Caucus, Prayer Caucus, Military Family Caucus, Military Veterans Caucus. I'm just not even going to read that last one. Congressional Army, House Representative Israel Caucus. Well, we're going to get to, well, yeah, okay. Moving right along. Songwriters Caucus, Values Action Team, Taiwan Caucus, and the Congressional Recording Artists and Sciences Caucus. All right, so that's all the clubs that he belongs to. Let's actually take a look at, let's see, this is where he got, article where he got selected to be the chairman of Homeland Security. And then, let's see, he's fighting to help with Medicaid recipients with an reintroduction of the bill. This nearshoring thing is what caught my attention. What is nearshoring? Well, rather than competing directly, or utilizing China, let's say you're a small business owner and you need to outsource something. This is where that whole you can see there, the Latin America, Caribbean region. It might be cheaper to go to China, but it would be regionally healthier, according to nearshoring, to say being from the United States going to Latin America or the Caribbean region or Canada. Let's see. Canada, United States, Mexico. Where have I heard that before? In the past and fairly recently. Well, Green continue. Let's see. China is our chief strategic competitor that seeks to create an international order led by and for the ruling elites of the Chinese Communist Party. In response to an economic challenge of China's manufacturing dominance, one policy that has been gaining traction is nearshoring, relocating supply chains and business operations within a nearby region of halfway around the world, or around the globe, said Green. Green continued, this bipartisan legislation, that word bipartisan. Anyway, I got real issues with it. This bipartisan legislation is therefore as a threefold win. First, it makes the United States less dependent on Chinese manufacturing. Second, Latin America is provided with economic growth and jobs without a penny of taxpayer dollars. And lastly, as opportunities increase in the Latin American Caribbean region, the nearshoring of manufacturing will decrease migration to our southern border. I'm convinced that Latin America is in friendly partnership with the United States, has untapped potential to become an economic powerhouse by leveraging their comparative advantages in manufacturing. Nearshoring could provide the opportunity to bring back supply chains from China and attract foreign investment and create stable jobs for millions of people. In case you're not familiar with what's going on here, I suggest that, and I'll probably get back to it at a later point because it is something I will discuss. It's part of the illusions that need to be shattered. But back in 2016, President Obama was down there in Brazil participating in a conference known as the Young American Leaders. And no, it was not young leaders of these United States of America. No, it was young leaders from North and South America, North, South, Central America. The idea of it is it's based on Klaus Schwab's Young Leaders of the World. Now, it's not officially originally Obama's program because the Young Leaders of the Americas program actually dates back almost as far back as the United Nations. Anyway, like I said, that's something that I need to address deeper later. But so we got Mr. Green, who, rather than bringing manufacturing actually back to the United States, and also at the same time closing our southern border, he would rather bribe people not to come across our border by still having those jobs exported just regionally. Bear in mind, this is the chair of the Department of Homeland Security committee over in the House. So, what exactly is nearshoring? One of the options many companies consider is nearshoring. Nearshoring is a type of offshoring that occurs when an organization decides to outsource work to companies that are geologically nearer, hence the word near, to them than some of the previously popular countries in Asia and Eastern Europe. For example, instead of offshoring development work to India, which is between 9 and 12 hours ahead of the United States, a company might choose a company in Central America, thus cutting the time difference down so work can take place in relatively real time. And what they mean in that aspect is in the same time zone. So, however, although nearshoring allows two companies to be in more similar time zones, this doesn't solve any problems with overseas outsourcing. Just one of them. Nearshoring still presents contextual, cultural, and language challenges, as well as those of cybersecurity, intellectual property protection, and political uncertainty. Companies need to be aware of these dangers before considering this option for outsourcing any projects. Um, you know, I live in the state of Missouri. Now let's say I want to outsource something. Me myself, I think I would be more likely to outsource to say, oh, I don't know, Iowa, maybe Nebraska or Kansas, heck, even Illinois, maybe, or Arkansas, Texas, Florida. I'm just, why would I need to take my business outside the country? That's still exporting jobs. That's still exporting money, my opinion. Okay? There again, I am trying to talk about this Mark Green, chairman of the House Committee on Homeland Security. Pardon me. So let's go over here to Open Secrets and let's take a look at who gave him money in 2022. Now, I'm really only going to look at the top 6 donors on any of these people, but we're going to run down through the list. I'll name these off: House Freedom Fund, Copart Inc., American Israel Public Affairs Committee, Acadia Healthcare, NGU Risk Management, NORPAC, All American Containers, Advanced Financial, DAPCO Investments, Little Piping Mechanical Incorporated, or I'm sorry, LLC, TCG, Pilot Corp, Handy Family Companies, Arsenal Capital Partners, State of Tennessee, Majority Committee PAC, Legends Bank, Loden Vision Centers, Rogers Group, and Stowers Machinery. So let's start back up here at the top of the list. Who is the House Freedom Fund? Okay, well, let's see. They give all their money. They give all their money to Republicans. All right. So who are these top recipients? Well, we've got Scott Perry, Yvette Harrell, Lauren Boebert, Mary Miller, and Paulina Luna. Oh look, we got Marjorie Taylor Greene down here on the list. Yeah, we're gonna go back and talk about her after a while. Got Chip Roy on the list, Jim Jordan, and I am gonna be going through people, and I'm not gonna just be doing Republicans, but I'm trying to shatter the illusions and point out the dangers of being a member of the cult of personality. Paul Gozer, Mark Green there on the list. All right, so we got that taken care of. NGU Risk Management. What did I find on them? Oh, there we go. NGU Risk Management. A tradition in strength and trust. Oh yeah. That was something I was gonna look at down there later. We was gonna get to that. Our people. I wanted to look at our people. What are these people all about? Or maybe I was wanting to look at our mission. We got a bunch of customer service representatives here. Financial officer John Evans is the president. Let's see our program. Here we go. Well, let's see. Our program, quote, whether it's for legal government, whether it's for a local government, a public school system, a utility district, and many other public entities. NGU excels in customizing risk transfer programs specifically designed to meet each client's individual needs. The following is a list of the policies we most commonly place. Other coverages and markets are available should you have an exposure that is not addressed here. We've got property. Under property coverage, they have inland marine, boiler and machinery, crime, employee dishonesty, auto, physical damage, flood, and builder's risk. Under liability, they have workers' comp, employer's liability, general liability, auto liability, errors and omissions, directors and officers, employee practices liabilities. They also have specialty lines, aircraft and airport liability, pollution liability, student accident, surety bonds, public official bonds, cyber liability, and school board legal liability. Boy, howdy, they're up to their eye teeth in legal stuff. So let's see. Who else we got here? We got Copart. They got 2.04% went to Democrats. Well, let's see. Who all have we got on this list where this money went? Because it's a PAC. Okay. The Political Action Committee. Ron Johnson. Chuck Grassley. Yeah, that's a name I know. Not one I'm real crazy about either. Rand Paul. Not a bad guy from what I understand. They gave money to Liz Cheney. Be victorious over Democrats' PAC and still gave money to Don Davis. And they gave, okay, so they only gave $75 to the Blue Senate PAC, but still, they're giving money there. Let's see what we got here. We got Michelle Fishbaugh, J.D. Vance, Mark Kelly, a Democrat they gave money to, Ted Budd. Let's see. I'm looking for some other names that pop off the page, jump off the page here. John Boozman, Lisa Murkowski, John Kennedy, Marco Rubio, John Cornyn. Let's see, over here on the first page. Well, let's see. As far as Kopach's donations go, the number one candidate they gave money to was Mark Green, chairman of the Department of Homeland Security Committee. There's also down here is the Marsha PAC, which is the political action group for Marsha Blackburn, which I do, if I remember right, I think we'll get there later. I think that's got ties to Kevin McCarthy, which we're going to discuss in a bit. Wow, I'm already almost 20 minutes into this, and I haven't even gotten to the good stuff yet. I need to move right along. So, next up, let's see, let's go back over here. Yep, number three. Number three is the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. And look at that. Only a third of their money actually goes to Republicans. 2/3 go to Democrats. And this is his number three donor. Right? Number three donor? Yep, number three donor. If you look, let's see, are we on there? Yep, we're on their first page. And of their top donations, United Democracy Project, I'm not even sure who that is, but they gave $8.5 million to them. And then Of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Of the top 15 listings, the very first one is an outside group. The next 14 are all Democrat organizations, and then you get a Republican. So, this is something to consider. So, what are they all about? Well, they are a bipartisan organization. Being pro Israel is good policy and good politics. Now, I'm not saying that standing with Israel is a bad thing, but as I remember from the Bible, um, Christ doesn't even come back, and the new temple doesn't get built until the old temple is destroyed, which doesn't happen until after the Antichrist pops up, the false Messiah. Anyway, we are a bipartisan American organization that advocates for strong U.S.-Israel relationships. The Israel that exists now is the one that's going to fall, from what I understand. Can American Israel Public Affairs Committee remain bipartisan? This is from NBC News 3 years ago. I'm not going to show it, but it's May 30th, 2019. I'll try to remember to drop the link in the description. If not, you can see there that the video exists. And rather interestingly, yeah, we got Mike Pence up there at the podium. That's 2019 APAC Policy Conference. And from what I understand, he's trying to jockey himself for a position or into position for a run for the U.S. presidency in 2024. And by the way, for reference, at the time of this recording, yeah, it's 12:20 a.m. Central Time, February 16th, 2023. So there is that much for you. Anyway, I'm not going to play that. I don't have time for it. But then we got Acadia Healthcare and yeah, all their stuff. It looks like all their contributions went to Republicans. But still, it's healthcare sponsorship. That's why I don't have sponsors. I'm strictly crowdfunded. Simply because of the fact that I don't wish to be beholden to anybody. All right, so who's NORPAC? Who's NORPAC? Well, again, we got one of these political action committees, which is essentially a communist organization. PAC collects a whole bunch of money from their donors and then spend it how they feel is best spent for the candidates they feel are a best fit, and however much money that particular candidate needs to meet that particular goal. So 2/3 of their money, or roughly 2/3 of their money, went to Democrats, and that leaves 1/3 for Republicans. Who's on their recipient list? Well, we got Josh Gottheimer, Hakeem Jeffries. Isn't he the minority leader in the House right now? U.S. House. Isn't he second chair to McCarthy? See, we've also got Charles Schumer, Chucky baby. Yeah, Chucky Schumer. Chantel Brown, Robert Menendez, sorry. Richie Torres. I know we get a couple of Republicans there. James Lankford from Oklahoma. Lisa Murkowski from Alaska, who won her position because of ranked choice voting. Moving right along, let's take a look at some of the legislation this old boy's got here. Okay, so we got the Western Hemisphere Nearshoring Act. We kind of covered that a little bit. It's H.R. 7579. Again, if you want to look into it deeper, it's over there at congress.gov. I'm sure you can pause the video if you need to take notes. Let's see, we got House Resolution 6942 to prohibit the importation of oil and gas products from Russia, Iran, or Venezuela, and for other purposes. I love how they put these, and for other purposes, it allows them the opportunity to slip in bullshit. That's how we get the pork barrel stuff that's in there. Anyway, the date on the introduction of this was introduced the 7th of March. Yeah, the 7th of March, 2022, which would be about the time that, probably right after, when, or shortly after, when Russia invaded Ukraine, as the narrative goes. As I see it, they were just trying to get Ukraine to hold up their end of the deal. But that's not why I'm here right now. Anyway, so, in case you couldn't figure it out, this old boy kind of backs Ukraine. In fact, if that wasn't enough information for you, here's House Resolution 3144. Now, these are bills that were sponsored by Mark Green, current chair of the Committee on Homeland Security. Restraining Russian Imperialism Act. This bill requires the president to impose all available Russia-related sanctions against each individual and entity that meet the criteria for such sanctions, blah, blah, blah. Anyway. House Resolution 2362, Protecting Gold Star Spouses Act of 2021. Now, Mr. Green, with you being a veteran, I can already see that you're a warmonger, so I get it. I get it. But if it wasn't for these war hawks in Congress, we wouldn't have a need for Gold Star family programs, and we wouldn't have a need for Gold Star Spouses Acts, and we wouldn't have a need for all of that. Anyway, this bill provides interim appropriations for the Coast Guard retirement or retired servicemen's family protection and survivor benefits plans. If we didn't have these endless wars, we wouldn't have these endless problems. China, let's see, another bill that he sponsored. House Resolution 1131, China Technology Transfer Control Act of 2021. This bill controls exports of certain national interest technology and intellectual property to China. There again, we wouldn't have to worry about exporting that technology if we had our manufacturing base here at home again. Just saying. House Resolution 1129. Our Money in China Transparency Act. There again, if our manufacturing base was in the United States, we wouldn't have to be worried about our money in China. House Resolution 722 to decrease dependency on the People's Republic of China's manufacturing and decrease migration due to lost regional economic opportunities. So, there again, like I was saying earlier, he wants to pull the jobs back from China, but not bring them back to the United States. No, ship them off to Caribbean countries and Central American countries and South American countries, which, it's oh, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. House Resolution 629 to amend Title 11 of the Social Security Act to provide for state approval and implementation of specified waivers under the Medicaid program, thereby expanding the program in and of itself. There's also this HR 582, HR 582, Credit Union Board Modernization Act, and basically all it does is imposes more rules on federal credit unions to require them to have more meetings. Let's see. I wanted to go back to. All right, yeah, that was. I think that's everything I've got on Mark Green. Up next, We'll have another one. Maybe I can try to keep it under a half hour. So let's go back to the committee. And like I said, we're going to take a look at Michael McCall. And like I mentioned earlier, I have called him out before as a war hawk, and we'll figure out why here in just a short bit. So here's back over here at congress.gov. There's Mr. McCall's page. We'll take a look at some of his legislation here in a moment. Let's see. He happens to be the chairman over here at the Foreign Affairs Committee. Interesting. Very interesting. Let's see. We got Ann Wagner on there. She's from Missouri. Christopher Smith from New Jersey. Scott Perry from Pennsylvania. Looking to see if there's any other names that just jump right off. Oh, looky there. Mr. Mark Green, chairman of Committee on Department of Homeland Security. He's also on the Foreign Affairs Committee. And if I remember right, I do believe that Mr. Green said that Mr. McCall is Mr. Green's parents' representative. Interesting how that's all plays back into itself like that. Let's see. Are there any other names that just jump right off the page? Not really right off the top here. Of course, that's the Republican members of that committee. But, okay, so we got Mike McCall's webpage. And let's see, what committees and caucuses is he on? Okay. Well, that shows 116th Congress. He's in the 118th Congress. How come that's not been updated, Mr. McCall? You're not looking good, man. You need to get with it. All right, well, how about we take a look at Michael McCall's contributors? First up, now bear in mind, okay, this is a Republican. Supposedly, allegedly. Number one, Democracy Engine. We got number two, Bergen Pain Management, Heritage Title Company of Austin. Aiken Grump et al. That sounds like a legal company, a law company. Oh, well, would you look at there? His number five donor. His number five donor is Microsoft Corporation. We got Marcus Foundation, Quick Drugs Pharmacy, Western National Group, Founders Fund, Patriot Insurance of Texas, Mond Auto Group, Bennett Ventures of Texas. That sounds like more money. Deloitte, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, LLP. Limited Liability Practice, so that's probably a law firm. Samsung Group, Dell Technologies, AT&T Incorporated, Alphabet Incorporated. Wow. Silver Eagle Distributors, New York Life Insurance. Oh, looky there, number 20, Raytheon. Hey, guess what? Raytheon is headquartered in Missouri. They got a lot of money in my state's politics. That's part of the the military industrial complex. Raytheon does control systems and such. Anyway, I just want to point that out to you, okay? So, who is the Democracy Engine? Who do they donate to? Holy mackerel. 89.97% of the money from that PAC, McCall's number one donor, gives money to Democrats. 10.02% goes to Republicans. How far do we have to go down on this list? Oh, well, Kirsten Sinema is their number one recipient. Henry Cuellar, Catherine Mosto, Maggie Hassan, Mark Kelly, Kurt Schrader, Chuck Schumer, Tim Ryan, Susie Lee. I think she's was named on the Department of or the Committee on Homeland Security. Sherry Beasley, Don Samuels, Raphael Warnock, Todd Young, Lucy Macbeth, John Fetterman. I haven't even gotten down to. Okay, so well, maybe Mr. McCall's on the next page. John Cornyn of Texas, another Warhawk. Let's see, how far do we have to go down on the second page? Oh, Mehmet Oz got money from them. Chuck Grassley. Oh, there's Michael McCall all the way down on the bottom of the second page. Interesting. Follow the money, people. Bergen Pain Management. They predominantly give to Republicans, apparently. 77.24% goes to Republicans, 22.76% goes to Democrats. Some of our chief recipients. Well, our number one recipient here is Michael McCall. Number two is a Democrat, Kristen Gillibrand. And we've got Republican National Committee, Restoring Our Nation PAC, CMR PAC, Off the Sidelines, Coalition. So, yeah. Oh, look at there. Dan Crenshaw down here at the bottom. Yeah, Dan Crenshaw mixed up in this mess. Heritage Title Company of Austin. 100% of their money goes to Republicans. Like who? Michael McCall, Chip Roy, Roger Williams, Texas Republicans, United PAC, Chuck Grassley, Rand Paul, Ron Johnson, John Boozman. Okay, so they're towing the party line on that one. Aiken Gump et al. 64.66% of their money goes to Democrats. 35.34% goes to Republicans. Remember, we're talking about the Republican chairman of the House Foreign Relations Committee. So, how far do we have to go down the list to find Mr. McCall? Well, let's see. Raphael Warnock got more money. Liz Cheney got more money. We got Mark Kelly, Chuck Schumer, Mark Rubio, John Thune, Todd Young, Kirsten Gillibrand. Bill Haggerty, Maria Salazar, Lisa Murkowski. I still haven't found. Oh, there's McCall. He's way down on the list. Lisa Murkowski got more money than McCall did. But, you know, why do I feel like I'm looking at a rhino? Microsoft Corporation. And this guy's real good buddies with the chairman over there at Department of Homeland Security. All right? And that guy gives a shout out to Marjorie Taylor Greene. We're going to get to her in a moment. I'm trying to keep this one considerably shorter than the last segment because this guy is not quite as much of a player. But we got Microsoft Corporation, 76.09% Democrat, 23.22% Republican. Get down here, we got DNC, we got Raphael Warnock, Chuck Schumer, Mark Kelly, Mike Lee, John Fetterman, Sherry Beasley, Tammy Duckworth. These are all people that got more money than Mr. McCall did. Hakeem Jeffries, Mark Warner, Pramila Jayapal. Holy cow, where is McCall on this list? Nancy Pelosi, True North PAC, Lincoln Project. We still haven't found McCall. James Clyburn, Blake Masters, Mike Gallagher, Joe Biden, John Boozman, Fight Pack, New Millennium Pack, Great Lakes Pack, Save America, Kelly Armstrong. Oh, there's Michael McCall near the bottom of the third page. All right, so Marcus Foundation, 98.93% Republican, 1.07% Democrat. And let's see, Senate Leadership Fund. Missouri First Action. Oh, Missouri First. If I remember right, they've got connections with Rex Sinkfield. Not one of my favorite characters. Oh, look at this. They threw money. Oh, man, they're throwing all kinds of money at, let's see, we got U.S. Freedom Fund. So we got Missouri First Action, Florida First Project, John Bolton Super PAC, Honor Pennsylvania, Nevada Republican Central Committee, Republican Party of Arizona, Republican Party of Michigan, Republican Party of Illinois, Iowa, Florida, California, Pennsylvania. Yeah, so it looks like, okay, it looks like they ran through the gambit. Doesn't even really matter. Oh, they gave money to Joe Manchin. Was that their one? Joe Manchin, that's their 1.07%. Huh. Interesting. The things you learn when you start looking at the money and stuff. All right, so let's take a look at evidence showing this guy, Mr. McCall, to be a war hawk. House Resolution 6742, Never Yielding Europe's Territory, Act of 2022. What the heck is that? To counter the aggression of the Russian Federation against Ukraine and Eastern European allies, to expedite security assistance to Ukraine, to bolster its defense capacities and those of allies and partners in the region, to impose sanctions relating to actions of the Russian Federation with respect to Ukraine and for other purposes. Now, the reason these things are important, these chair positions are important, as I understand it, the chair may be selected within the committee, but doesn't the Speaker of the House have something to say about who's on the committees? We'll look at McCarthy here in just a bit. I'm going to try to keep this one tamed down here. House Resolution 567. This was the one that convinced me that Mr. McCall is a war hawk. The Trans-Sahara Counterterrorism Partnership Partnership Program Act. The bill provides statutory authority for the Trans-Sahara Counterterrorism Partnership Program, an interagency program launched in 2005 to partner with countries in the Sahel and Maghreb regions of Africa to counter terrorism and violent extremism. The Department of State, in consultation with the Department of Defense and the U.S. Agency for International Development, yes, that's USAID, shall establish the partnership program, which must coordinate all U.S. programs in North and West Africa related to various counterterrorism activities, such as building foreign military capacity, enhancing border security, promoting youth employment, and supervising independent media to counter terrorism propaganda. Now, enhancing border security. How about some of that shit here at home? Huh? How about that, Mr. McCall? Oh, I'm sorry. You're the chair of foreign affairs. You're more worried about other people's business than the stuff at home. Right? Am I getting this right? Because this is what you're supporting, man. The State Department must submit comprehensive 5-year strategies that include specified activities for Sahel and Maghreb regions and for program counterterrorism efforts. Further program activities must, among other things, one, be carried out in countries where there is an adequate level of partner country commitment. And number two, have clearly defined outcomes and specific programs with indicators to regularly monitor and evaluate outcomes and impact. Such activities must also take into account the counterterrorism and development strategies of partner countries and align with such strategies to the extent possible. The State Department shall notify Congress before obligating funds for such programs and must submit annual reports about program activities. I want to point out this right here. The program was launched in 2005, right? I also want to point out North and West Africa. That would include the South Sudan and Sudan. South Sudan is right now, and Sudan are deeply wrapped up in business with the United Nations. South Sudan is actually has a school being taught by the United Nations for the purpose of a unified defensive force to allegedly calm some of the squabbles between various socio-political groups there. Some might call them guerrillas, others might call them freedom fighters. I don't know all the details, other than the United Nations is doing this unified front to try to bring peace to the neighborhood, as well as continuing their training program to combat human trafficking. Now, for those of you who might not be aware of the statistics, the busiest place in the world when it comes to human trafficking is South Sudan. And a few years ago, I think it was back about 2015, might have been 2013, might have been a little further back than that. Some UN officers or agents were found guilty of trading food for sexual behavior, sexual favors with minors. Anyway, it's an ugly story, and that's another time, another discussion for another time. Mr. McCall also promotes H.R. 6455, Prosper Africa Act, to promote, facilitate, and increase two-way trade and investment between the United States and Africa. At this point, I need to address two things here. This is coming from the United Nations. Welcome to the United Nations. Stable Development Goals. This is Agenda 2040. Report by United Nations and Gates Foundation presents vision for eradicating malaria by 2040. The new report, released by the United Nations and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, presents a vision to eradicate malaria by 2040 that involves new strategies, tools, and financing, and urges world leaders to expand their commitments to fight the disease that still kills about one child of every minute Okay, we got to do it for the kids, huh? So why is it hydroxychloroquine in Africa is known as the Sunday pill? Why has the United Nations for a long time considered hydroxychloroquine a necessary drug? Because it fights malaria, it fights parasitics, it fights viral loads. It's and with minimal side effects, if any. And yet, Bill Gates, if you know, if you don't, I'm gonna remind you. If you do, I'm gonna remind you. If you don't, I'm gonna tell you. If you do, I'm gonna remind you. But Bill Gates has been kicked out of. Well, he's wanted for murder in India because of oral polio vaccines causing polio and deaths. Now, Agenda 2040 was created in or launched September 28th, 2015. Then we got this nifty little thing over here called Agenda 2063, which was actually kicked off in 2013, May of 2013. And it covers a 50-year, it's a 50-year plan. It's just another name for Agenda 201, or it actually kind of predates 2030. In fact, it's the transition from Agenda 201 to Agenda 2030. But this is specifically designed for the African continent. Agenda 2063 is Africa's blueprint and master plan for transforming Africa into the global powerhouse of the future. It is the continent's strategic framework that aims to deliver on its goal for inclusive and sustainable development and is a concrete manifestation of Pan-Africa drive for unity, self-determination, freedom, progress, and collective prosperity pursued after Pan-Africanism and and African Renaissance. The genesis of Agenda 2063 has the realization, or was the realization by African leaders, that there was a need to refocus and reprioritize Africa's agenda from the struggle against apartheid and the attainment of political independence for the continent, which has been the focus of the Organization of African Unity, the precursor of the African Union, like the European Union, like the North American Union, the South American Union. I'll address that another time. Anyway, and instead of prioritize inclusive, and instead to prioritize inclusive social and economic development, continental and regional integrity, integration, democratic governance, and peace and security, amongst other issues aimed at repositioning Africa to become a dominant player in the global arena. And I think they're going to do this through the ruination of Europe via Ukraine. Stop Iranian Drones Act, that would be H.R. 6089. Purpose of this bill that was sponsored by Mr. McCall to clarify that Section 107 of the Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act applies sanctions with respect to unmanned combat aerial vehicles following a 2019 change by the United Nations, providing additional clarity to the United Nations Register of Conventional Arms. I find this particularly interesting because of late there have been some drones that have been showing up using what appears to be chemical and or biological agents in most horrid ways, utilizing drones for deployment. Again, countering America's adversaries through Sanctions Act. This was introduced 11/30/2021, so this would have been prior to the Ukrainian invasion. But by that point, I remember there was already positioning, there was already some tension going on. Also, back in 2021, July 27, 2021, H.R. 4713, Department of Homeland Security, Transnational Criminal Investigative Units Act. So what this does is, or what this did was, this allowed for the Department of Homeland Security to set up offices in other countries. This is really no different than authorizing the FBI to set up field offices in foreign nations when the FBI is supposed to be about domestic issues. Department of Homeland Security should be at home. HR 4693, Global Malnutrition Prevention and Treatment Act of 2021. This act sets out programs and otherwise directs the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, to carry out activities to prevent and treat malnutrition globally. USAID, if you guys will remember, has distinct Clinton ties. Right? This is the chairman of the House Foreign Relations Committee, and he's real good buddies with the chairman of the House Committee on Homeland Security. All right, are you seeing a pattern here? And both these folks are real tight friends with Marjorie Taylor Greene. House Resolution 2844, Election Protection Act 2021. Sounds nice enough, right? To establish election security enhancement units in the Cyber Security and Infrastructure Agency. Folks, that's freaking CISA. Freaking CISA. This guy supports CISA. Personally, I think the Department of Homeland Security needs to be disbanded. It only came about because of the events of 9/11. 9/11/2001, for those who might not know the reference, just in case. Twin Towers, plus Building 7. To direct the Election Assistance Commission to make a grant to each state which certifies that it has implemented certain steps to ensure the integrity of voter registration, casting of ballots, and tabulation of ballots in elections for federal office in the state and other purposes. All right, so, but Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency, frickin' CISA. That's a rant for another time. From 2021, this would have been introduced shortly after. Let's see, April 1st, April Fool's Day, 2021. House Resolution 2029, Countering Chinese Communist Party Malign Influence Act, to authorize appropriations to counter malign influence of Chinese Communist Party and other purposes. So far, I'm hearing this guy just spending more and more tax money. This one. And this is going to be a half hour also. I am almost done with this. HR 2049, Bitmap Authorization Act. Now, Bitmap is not what you think it is. We're not talking about those nifty little pictures from the 8K graphics days. No. Bitmap is Biometric Identification Transnational Migration Alert Program Authorization Act, or the Bitmap Authorization Act. This bill provides statutory authority for the Department of Homeland Security Biometric Identification Transnational Migration Alert Program. That program was established to address and reduce national security, border security, and terrorist threats before such threats reach the international border of the United States. Before carrying out bitmap operations in a foreign country, Department of Homeland Security must enter into an agreement with the government of such country that sets forth program goals for such country and must provide the Congressional Homeland Security Committees with a copy of the agreement. Oh, so this program authorizes the United States Department of Homeland Security to go collar and tag citizens of another country that are likely to migrate to the United States. Fun shit there, right? Okay. That was authored by Mr. McCall. House Resolution 1934, promoting United States international leadership in 5G Act of 2021. I'm not even going to go any further into that. Promoting United States leadership in 5G. Yes, we're talking 5G communications here. This was introduced April 16th, 2021. No, March 16th. The president must establish an interagency working group to work with allies and international partners to increase and align their engagement in standard-setting organizations, such as the International Telecommunications Union, that address standards and issues pertaining to communications networks, including 5G technology. Last but not least, H.R. 1699, Iran Sanctions Relief Review Act of 2021. This bill restricts the president's authority to unilaterally undertake certain actions with respect to Iran and increases congressional oversight of those actions. Specifically, the president must report to Congress before terminating or waiving sanctions related to Iran or taking licensing action that significantly alters U.S. foreign policy with respect to Iran. Each report must 1. Describe the proposed action and its rationale. 2. Indicate whether or not the action is intended to significantly alter foreign policy concerning Iran. If the intention is to alter that policy, the report must provide additional information about the policy objectives and anticipated effects of the action. So, yeah. Fun stuff. All right, well, it's time to move on to the next piece. All right, so we're going to roll it right back over here to the Congress members page. We got Clay Higgins of Illinois, Michael Guest of Mississippi, Dan Bishop of North Carolina, Carlos Jimenez of Florida, August Pfluger of Texas, Andrew Garbarino of New York, Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia. That's where we're headed next. Go ahead and lead down to the rest of the list. Tony Gonzalez of Texas, Nick LaLota, New York, Mike Easel, Mississippi, Anthony Esposito, New York, Laurel Lee, Florida, Morgan Luttrell, Texas, Dale Strong of Alabama, Josh Brecken of Oklahoma, and Eli Crane of Arizona. Democrat members, Benny Thompson, he's the minority leader, sorry. Ranking member, actually, I think. Yeah, ranking member. And then we got Sheila Jackson Lee of Texas. Boy, is she a real piece of work. Donald Payne of New Jersey. Eric Swalwell of California. Yeah, he's on Department of Homeland Security. And he's going to be the ranking member for the cybersecurity subcommittee. So that should be fun. That's mentioned in that clip that I ran earlier from the hearing. Uh, Benny Thompson announced that. So just a reminder, Eric Swalwell is going to be ranking member of the Cybersecurity Committee or subcommittee within the Committee on Homeland Security. Holy cow. Anyway, people, you can't make this stuff up. Lou Correa, Troy Carter, Shai Thandar. Anyway, no, I'm sorry. Moving right along. Seth Magaziner, Glenn Ivey, Don Goldman. I'm sorry, I'm not reading some of these states off. Well, it doesn't really matter. These are just the Democrat members. They're not the ones I'm wanting to focus on. I'm just giving names. So we got points of reference because I got a feeling we'll be coming back to this since I am a congressional watchdog and Department of Homeland Security is one of my targets. Dan Goldman of New York, Robert Garcia of California, Delia Ramirez of Illinois, my lovely neighbors, Rob Menendez of New Jersey, Yvette Clark of New York, and Dina Titus of Nevada. So let's go back here to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's just take a look at what she's got going on. Here's her webpage over there at congress.gov. Just follow that nifty little link, and here we go. Here's her nifty difty, spiffy, super spiffy little web page here. Let's just go ahead and take a look at her committee list. Let's see, what committees is she on? Okay, so she's on the House Committee on Oversight and Accountability, on the Subcommittee for Government Operations and the Federal Workforce, Subcommittee on Cybersecurity, Information Technology, and Government Innovation. She's also on the House Committee on Homeland Security, Subcommittee on Border Security and Enforcement, and Subcommittee on Oversight, Investigations, and Accountability. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene is the proud member of the following caucuses: the Election Integrity Caucus, House Freedom Caucus, Republican Study Committee, and Second Amendment Caucus. Please pardon my lack of enthusiasm. So she's over here on the, pardon me, hang on a second. Sorry about that. I just guess I need a drink. Anyway, we got the full committee list over here at the Committee for Oversight and Accountability. Now, we got James Comer is the chairman. James Comer of Kentucky's First. And Jamie Raskin is ranking member. He's from Maryland. By the way, these days you'll be seeing Jamie Raskin wearing a do-rag, blue bandana on his head. Apparently he's dealing with cancer, so he's going through some radiation treatment. Anyway, Republican member is Jim Jordan. That's somebody I will address later. I don't think I have him lined up for this particular episode. Mike Turner, Paul Gozer, Virginia Fox, Glenn Grothman, Gary Palmer, Clay Higgins, Pete Sessions, Andy Biggs, Nancy Mace, Jake LaTurner, Pat Fallon, Byron Donalds, Kelly Armstrong, Scott Perry, William Timmons, Jim Burchett. There's Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lisa McClain, Lauren Boebert. Oh, she's over there on the Oversight and Accountability Committee too. Didn't she have a nifty little battle in the elections thing? She might have an axe to grind. I don't know. We'll see. Russell Fry, Anna Paulina Luna, Chuck Edwards, Nick Langworthy, and Eric Burleson. Who are the Democrat members? Democrat people. Come on, it's the Democrat Party. All right, so Eleanor Holmes Norton, I do believe that she would be the ranking member. No, I'm sorry. Raskin's the ranking member. Stephen Lynch, Gerald Conley, Raja Krishnamurti, Ro Khanna. Oh, there's another wonderful person. Quasi Fume, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, Sandy herself, occasional Cortez. Katie Porter, Cori Bush. Ah, yes. Her claim to fame was Ferguson, Missouri. Anyway, moving right along. Chantel Brown, Jimmy Gomez, Melanie Stansberry, Robert Garcia, Maxwell Frost, Becca Palance, Summer Lee, Greg Kassar, Jasmine Crockett, Dan Goldman, and Jared Moskowitz. All right, well, moving right along. I don't know why I brought that up. Let's see. Let's see who Marjorie Taylor Greene's donors are. Number 1, the House Freedom Fund. Number 2, DTS Incorporated, South Carolina. We'll look at that. Majority Committee PAC. Number 3. Number 4, SpaceX. Number 5, Burger Busters Incorporated. Number 6, Hoffer Ranch. Going on down the list. J.W. Childs Association, Archer Auto Group, Textile, Rubber and Chemical Company, Ditch Digger, Pain Physicians of Atlanta, Fast Food Systems, Hedrick Brothers, Hedrick Brothers Construction as well. Carenza Investment Fund 2, LLC, Profab Inc., Textile Rubber, Vulcan Spring, Daily Wells Communications, and America First Events. All right, well, let's do like I did a while ago. The House Freedom Fund, 100% Republican. So, yeah. And I think it was pretty much all the Republicans. There's 3 pages of them. Actually, oh my God, Lauren Boebert, Marge. So that's not the money that was used from FTX by. Oh, wait a minute, that's McCarthy. DTS Incorporated. DTS is Disaster Recovery Management. They've been in business for 25 years as of the posting of this web page, 2015. So this web page is 8 years old. So I guess they've been in business 33 years if they're still in business donating in 2022. So that's that. That was their. That was her. Hang on. Oh yeah, Majority PAC. This is the leadership PAC that is affiliated with Kevin McCarthy. Let's see if we can. That's the summary. Candidate recipients. $2.4 million. Let's see. Candidates. Mike Garcia, Greg Murphy, Jerry Carl. Oh, there's 248 entries. So there's 248. Oh, that's 2019. Hang on. I want 2022. There we go. $2.3 million was spent. 258 entries there. 10, 15, $20,000 a person. Oh, okay. I already pulled that up. All right. SpaceX. I thought this was interesting. Marjorie Taylor Greene's number 4 donor. 53.95% Democrat, 46.05% Republicans. Let's see how this list breaks down. Well, number 1, National Republican Congressional Committee. Number 2, Ken Calvert. Number 3, Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. So he gave 40. SpaceX gave just over $40,000 to the National Republican Committee and gave a little under half that to the Democratic Congressional Committee. Anyway, I got Paul Thune, Matt Cartworth, Mark Warner, National Republican Senatorial Committee, Zoe Lofgren, Frank D. Lucas, Henry Cuellar, Bill Posey, Alex Padilla, Adam Smith. Adam Schiff. What? He gave Adam Schiff more money than he gave Marjorie Taylor Greene? Marjorie Taylor Greene got $9,240. How much did Adam Schiff get? Adam Schiff got $10,000. So Adam Schiff only got a little bit more than Marjorie Taylor Greene did from SpaceX. Interesting. Burger Busters, I don't know anything about them, but they're 100% Republican. Right, so yeah, they're Marjorie Taylor Greene, Madison Cawthorn, Marco Rubio, Josh Hawley, Kevin McCarthy. Yeah, pretty much across the board when it comes to the Republicans. Don't know who they are. Offer Ranch, 100% Republican donations. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Let's see, this would be August 19th, 2022. House Resolution 8731, Protect Children's Innocence Act. This is the to prohibit gender affirming care on minors and for other purposes. I'm not going to dog on that. But she's got 4 bills that she's already sponsored this year. Let's see. To designate the federal building in the United States Courthouse located at 600 East 1st Street in Rome, Georgia, as Harold L. Murphy Federal Building and United States Courthouse. Okay, that sounds like a big business thing there. Real important stuff. Amendment, or description, an amendment to numbered 146, bring to the congressional record. So anyway, a couple of amendments. All right, so what else did she have as sponsored legislation last session? Protect Children's Innocence Act, Protect Mothers and Babies from Terrorism Act, 21st Century Free Speech Act, Justice for Vaccine Victims Act, Stopping the Spread of Taxpayer-Funded Bioweapons Act, Kyle H. Rittenhouse Congressional Gold Medal Act, No Funding for Terrorist Act, We Will Not Comply Act, Fire Fauci Act, Protect America First Act, Gun Owner Privacy Act, Second Amendment Preservation Act. Sure seems like she's, a whole lot of acts. Crazy stuff, folks. And that money. Really? That money. Always follow the money, people. It tells you more about who somebody is and what they're willing to do when you see where they're getting their money from. Because when you got that kind of money being dumped into your pockets, people tend to think you owe them favors. They tend to think that they've purchased something from you. Anyway, there's still more to cover. I was able to keep this one relatively short. Let's see if I can do the same for the rest of it. Okay, I'm gonna go back over here and make reference to James Comer. Try to do a quick run through on him just because he's got paths that cross with Marjorie Taylor Greene. And there's some interesting stuff going on here. We'll, again, back over here at Congress.gov, Representative James Comer. And there's all of his feats. If you're interested, you can go find him over there. So, Comer widens investigation into Biden's involvement in his family's business schemes. Comer introduces legislation to shine the light on regulatory guidance. He wants to make things easier to be gotten to. He's on the committee on oversight and reform, ranking member, and committee on education and labor, subcommittee higher education and workforce investment. So we got James Comer over here at Open Secrets, and we're going to take a look at financials, contributions here for the 2022 cycle. Leadership Pack, Comer Pack. All right, so top 6 would include number 1, Florida Cancer Specialist. Number 2, Hunt Farms. Number 3, Frost Brown Todd LLC. Number 4, Pro Israel Pack, or Pro Israel America Pack. Number 5, New York Cancer and Blood Specialist. And number 6, Transdime Group. But I don't have a link on Hunt Farms. I didn't line that one up. Going on down the list, though, National Association of Letter Carriers, Altria Group, LHC Group, Brymac and Associates, Goldberg and Simpson, Alliance Resource Partners, American Bankers Association, Fleur Corporation, American Israel Public Affairs Committee, I mentioned them earlier, Pitney Bowes Incorporated, Stoll Keegan Ogden, Toyota Motor Group, United Postmasters and Managers of America, and Viatras Incorporated. A lot of big business behind this guy. A lot of big business behind this guy. So let's go over here and take a look at Florida Cancer Specialists. 79.55% Republican, 20.45% goes to Democrats. So, what? $1 in $5 goes to a Democrat. We got recipients. Starting at the top of the list, we got James Comer, Kathy McMorris Rogers, Amanda Mackey, or yeah, I guess that's Mackey, Gus Belarakis, Blake Masters, Raja Krishnamurti, Kevin Hazlett, Terry Sewell, Raphael Warnock, Rashida Tlaib. Some of the other names that jumped off the page at me: Mehmet Oz, Ilhan Omar, Val Demings. Yeah, right up here with some real winner picks here. Oh, Winred. Huh. They actually donated money to Trump's super PAC. Herschel Walker. Jeremy Hunt. Adam Schiff. David Perdue. Got money from David Perdue. But let's go back over here. Yeah, crazy. So then let's take a look at Frost Brown Todd LLC. 54.65% Democrats, 45.32% Republicans. Who are some of their top recipients? Morgan McGarvey, James Comer, Mitch McConnell, Rand Paul, Tim Ryan, Charles Booker, Beth Van Doon, Val Demings, Greg Landsman, John Fetterman, Sherrod Brown, Tom McDermott, Amy Klobuchar. We're seeing a lot of money spread around amongst people that are going to be controlled by the same individuals. Rather interesting. Pro-Israel America PAC. Yeah, I'm just blowing through this one pretty quick. Let's see. Chantel Brown, Hakeem Jeffries, James Langsford, Daniel Hernandez, Marco Rubio, Elaine Laria, John Boozman, Kay Granger, Haley Stevens, Richard Blumenthal, Maggie Hassan, Mike Crapo, John Katko, Charles Schumer, Chucky Schumer, Chris Pappas, David Joyce, Ted Deutsch, Donald Bacon, Kowski. Where in the heck is James? Oh, James Comer was up there. Oh, we got Liz Cheney on the list. Oh, there's James Comer. Gregory Meeks. Yeah, he's hanging out with some real good company. New York Cancer and Blood Specialists. 92.11% goes to Republicans, 7.89% to Democrats. And what we got going on the list here? Let's see. Kathy McMorris Rogers, Larry Bouchon, Josh Mandel, Terry Sewell, James Comer, George Delvolder Santos, Nicole Miliotoski, or Takis, Gad's Pack, and Patrick McHenry. And TransDime Group, 63.35% to Republicans, 36.65% to Democrats. National Republican Senatorial Committee, Republican Party of Shelby County, Ohio. Shelby County, Ohio. Huh. Shelby County. I wonder where that is in reference to East Palestine. That only brings up questions at the moment because of the train derailment and all the stuff going on there. Huh. Anyway, I might have to check that out or try to remember too. Let's see, we got Marco Rubio, James Comer, Chantel Brown again, Dan Norcross, Adam Smith, Jim Cooper, Ro Khanna, J.D. Vance, Tom Cotton, Herschel Walker, Ron Johnson, Raphael Warnock, Ted Budd. Okay, so I'm not going any further on that. What kind of legislation does this cat got? This is the 9th of February, 2023. House Resolution 890 to increase access to agency guidance documents. There's no text on it or anything yet. It's just been introduced. There's no summary. But if this is anything like some of the other legislation, they're just wanting more transparency on whatever the guidance documents are on a given agency to be able to see what the rules are for each agency. Protecting Speech from Government Interference Act. That's House Resolution 140. That was presented by James Comer, introduced January 9th, 2023. Amend Title V United States Code to prohibit federal employees from advocating for censorship of viewpoints in their official capacity and for other purposes. Great stuff. Great stuff. House Resolution 139, the Show Up Act of 2023, also introduced January 9th, 2023. This bill requires each executive agency to reinstate the telework policies that were in place on December 31st, 2019. Agencies may not implement expanded telework policies unless the Office of Personnel Management certifies that such policies, among other requirements, will have positive effect on the agency's mission and operational costs. That sounds fair enough. The Good Act. This was introduced March 8th, 2021. What is the Good Act? Well, here, let's go back over here and look at the summary. Guidance Out of the Darkness Act or the Good Act. Yeah, this is for concerning the posting of agency guidance documents for the purpose of transparency. So he's reintroduced that bill. And then the Marina Act, House Resolution 8843, which was, what was that? August, September? Yeah, September 15th, 2022. Maintaining Access to Recreational Industry and Necessary Adjustments Act, or the Marina Act. The bill establishes that sales of food, beverages, fuel, boats, boat motors, and boat lifts must be capped at 1% for calculating the amount of rent charged to the operator of a marina for a lease. So some micromanagement going on there. Anyway, so there's a brief introduction into James Comer. Buddies with some of these other characters that we're taking a look at. That pretty much takes care of that segment. I do believe I have Kevin McCarthy up next. I'm not sure if I got anything else after that. No. Kevin McCarthy. And then I think that pretty much finishes up the vast majority of this particular presentation. Anyway, so let's get to Kevin McCarthy. All right, so Representative Kevin McCarthy, current Speaker of the House. Yep. In the 118th Congress, Kevin McCarthy is the Speaker of the House. So, let's take a look at Kevin McCarthy, just like we've done all these other folks. Congressman Kevin McCarthy proudly serves California's 20th District and is currently Speaker of the House of Representatives. Okay, well, I thought there was, I wasn't wanting to read all that out. Let's see. Oh, yeah, that's right. He won't be on any committees because he's Speaker of the House. What are his favorite issues? Let's see. Agriculture, economy, education, energy, foreign affairs, government spending, healthcare, immigration, national security. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. I want to get down to the meat and potatoes of things here. Let's take a look at the money. All right, let's take a look at the money. We need to look at 2022. All right, so in 2022, Kevin McCarthy got almost $10 million in contributions. And there's his pack right there. There's his leadership pack. So, his number one contributor, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. Number 2, Enterprise Products Partners. Number 3, Comcast Corporation. Number 4, Dish Network. Number 5, Altria Group. Number 6, Federated Investors Incorporated. Rolling right on down the line, Rock Holdings, ConocoPhillips, RDV Corporation, Omnicom Group, Wells Fargo, Harbinger Strategies, Amgen Incorporated, Apollo Global Management, Kirtland and Ellis, Chevron Corporation, Miller Strategies, Blackstone Group, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and American Hospital Association. You know what? We're going to come back and take a look. We're going to add a couple more of these on here. Anyway, Comcast, let's go there first. 61.01% of their donations go to Democrats. 34.81% goes to Republicans and 4.17% to others. Here's some of their top recipients. Well, would you look at that? The number one recipient from Comcast is Joe Biden. And we got DNC Services, Republican National Committee, Democratic Congressional Committee, Bernie Sanders, Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee, National, let's see, we got Pete Buttigieg. They also gave money to Donald Trump. Hedging their bets on both sides of the fence. John Ossoff, Kamala Harris, Jamie Harrison, Raphael Warnock, Elizabeth Warren, Senate Majority PAC. You'll see that's blue, so that's the Democrat version. We got Mark Kelly and Amy Garth. They all got more money than Kevin McCarthy did. Hickenlooper. And hey, we got David Perdue down here at the bottom of the list. And that's just 1 through 25 of 1,317 entries just on Comcast Corp, just in their political contributions in 2022. Cerberus Capital Management. 48.37% of their donations go to Republicans. 40.74% go to Democrats. 10.89% goes to others. So let's take a look at who their top recipients are. Americans for Prosperity Action. Now that's red, so that would be a Republican organization, apparently, allegedly. But Americans for Prosperity Action? I need to look into them further. Let me make sure I am looking at 2022 numbers here. I mean, bloody well make sure of that. No, those are 2020 numbers. I want 2022 numbers. There we go. That changes things a bit differently. So in 2022, 62.26% goes to Republicans. 36.71% to Democrats and 1.03% to others. All right, so still Americans for Prosperity Action to Donald Trump, Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, A Better Delaware. Let's see, there's Kevin McCarthy, Forward Majority Action, Bill Haggerty, David Perdue, Mark Kelly, Martha McSally, Joe Kennedy III, Michael McCall, we just discussed him a bit ago, Joni Ernst, and Pete Buttigieg. There's an interesting mix in the spread of the money. American Electric Power. 76.82% of their money goes to Republicans. 21.44% goes to Democrats and 1.74% goes to others. Yeah, We're talking about Kevin McCarthy's donors here. So Kevin McCarthy is top of the list. Kevin McCarthy got more money than Joe Biden did. And Joe Biden got more money than Donald Trump did. We got David Perdue, Fred Upton. What other winners do we have on this list? Steny Hoyer, Steve Scalise is on there, Joyce Beatty, David McKinney, Bill Johnson, Henry Cuellar, Bernie Sanders, John Cornyn. Another lovely mix. Energy Transfer, LP. Make sure we're on. Oh, that's 2020 there. Okay, we got 2022. Congressional candidates. 85.80% of their donations went to Republicans, and 14.2% went to Democrats, who are the primary recipients. America First Action, Engage Texas, Republican National Committee, National Republican Committee, or Congressional Committee, Energy Transfer Partners, Congressional Leadership Fund, Majority West Virginia, Donald Trump, Kevin McCarthy. Now we're starting to get into names. Well, now they say 14.23% went to Democrats. Let's see if we can find out where the Democrats are. There's only 337 entries here to look at. Got Chip Roy's on the list, John Cornyn, David Perdue again. Joe Biden. Joe Biden, is that the only Democrat? Let's see. Talk about hedging your bets. Okay. Oh, and Michelle Caruso Cabrera. All right, so that's 5 pages in, and that's the 2 Democrats I found. Blue Cross Blue Shield, more of that health stuff in there. Make sure we got 2022. So 59.99% went to Democrats, 39.64% went to Republicans, and 0.37% went to others. Let's see who the top recipients are. Oh, well, we got Joe Biden, DNC Services, Democratic Congressional Committee, Unite the Country, LCV Victory Fund, and Democrat Senatorial Campaign Committee. All got more money than Donald Trump did, but Donald Trump still got more than $250,000 donation from them. I got Bernie Sanders on the list, votevets.org, a Democrat committee or group. Swing Left, Republican National Committee, Gary Peters, Arena 527, I don't know what that is. Elizabeth Warren, Pete Buttigieg, Raphael Warnock, John Ossoff, Amy McCarthy, Mark Kelly, Amy McGrath, I'm sorry, Mark Kelly, Mitch McConnell. Oh boy, oh boy. But wait a minute, we're looking for Kevin McCarthy, aren't we? All right, well, we've made it through page 1. No Kevin McCarthy. David Perdue. Some of the other names that are popping off. Kirsten Sinema. Oh, there's Kevin McCarthy. Kirsten Sinema got more money than Kevin McCarthy did. Oh, and Lindsey Graham's on the list. And Kamala Harris and Steve Scalise and Chuck Grassley. Well, that's just the first 2 pages of that one. DaVita Incorporated. Let's get this 2022 business taken care of. All right. Democrats, 50.97%. Republicans, 49.03%. Who's our top recipients here? Joe Biden, Kirsten Sinema. Looking for individuals. The top Republican is Kevin McCarthy, but he's still got less money than Kirsten Sinema. We got Mitch McConnell up there. It's on the top of the list up with them. Bernie Sanders, Todd Young, Karen Bass, Donald Trump, David Perdue, Cory Gardner, Gene Shahan. All right. And then GCNC Group, 98.19% Republicans, 1.79% Democrats. Make sure we got that. No, that's not the right year. Let's try that again. Yeah, still got similar numbers. 98.74% to 1.62% Republicans over Democrats. Top recipients: Kevin McCarthy, Mitch McConnell, Anthony Gonzalez. Well, let's roll down this list and see who the Democrat is that got some money. Going to page 3. Joe Cunningham and Bridge Pack. Jamie Harrison. And those are all down on page 3. All right, there was a couple of other things that I was wanting to look at on here. I want to look at Rock Holdings. I want to look at Blackstone Group. Chevron, that's big oil. Wells Fargo Banking. RDV Corp. I think they're finance. So let's take a look at Rock Holdings. Rock Holdings, 53.10% of their money went to Democrats. 46.89% went to Republicans. Who's some of our top recipients there? Well, the number one Democrat recipient, number one individual recipient candidate is Chucky Schumer. And we got Kirsten Sinema, Tim Scott, Emmanuel Cleaver, Chantel Brown. There's Kevin McCarthy, Joyce Beatty, Maggie Hassan, Hakeem Jeffries, Debbie Dingle, and okay, that rounds out that page. And let's take a look at Blackstone real quick. Yep, we got 2022. Blackstone, 51.40% went to Democrats, 48.24% went to Republicans, and 0.35% went to others. Let's see who some of the top recipients are. Well, let's see. Chuck Schumer, top candidate on the list. And then we go way on down the list, and then we get down to Josh Gottheimer, Rich Torres, Catherine Cortez Masto, Tim Scott. Well, got to go to page 2. Joe Manchin, Robert Menendez, Raphael Warnock, Kirsten Sinema, Maggie Hassan, Dan Goldman. Oh, Dan Goldman. Isn't he on the Foreign Relations Committee? I'll have to go back and double check that. I think I read that earlier. Katie Boy Britt, Patrick McHenry, Hakeem Jeffries, Debbie Stovenow, Lisa Murkowski, John Kennedy, Mark Kelly. Still have not found Kevin McCarthy. Garbarino, that's one of the other names we read a while ago. Mike Crapo, Mehmet Oz, Gregory Meeks, Andy Barr, Ted Budd, J.D. Vance, Mike Lee, Peter Scott. Oh, there's Kevin McCarthy. Way down near the bottom of page 3. Interesting. January 9th, 2023. Representative Kevin McCarthy introduced House Resolution 11, establishing a select committee on strategic competition between the United States and the Chinese Communist Party. This resolution establishes the House of Representatives, the Select Committee on Strategic Competition between the United States and the Chinese Communist Party, which is comprised of not more than 16 members appointed by the Speaker, 7 of whom shall be appointed in consultation with the minority leader. Sounding real tough. Also, let's see, introduced be June 22nd, 2022, Save Our Sequoias Act. There's no summary, but we've got a text here. What's the text say? To improve the health and resiliency of giant sequoias and for other reasons. Okay, environmental stuff. House Resolution 7690, introduced, let's see, January, February, March, April, May 10th, 2022. Yeah, I'm getting tired. I'm having to count out the months. House Resolution 7690, to prohibit the use of federal funds to establish or carry out activities of Disinformation Governance Board, or of a Disinformation Governance Board of the Department of Homeland Security and for other purposes. I remember that getting shot down. I was glad that it was. October 12th, 2021. We've got the Forward Act, or Finding Orphan Disease Remedies with Antifungal Research and Development Act, Endemic Fungal Disease Working Group, and make recommendations to the Department of Health and Human Services efforts to address endemic fungal diseases. I remember hearing something about that lately. There's been something about a zombie fungus going around. I got somebody I need to make aware of this. All right, moving right along. House Joint Resolution 54. Emergency Supplementary Appropriations Resolution for 2021. This joint resolution provides $1 billion in supplemental appropriations for the Department of Defense to assist the government of Israel with the acquisition, enhancement, maintenance, and supplement of the Iron Dome defense system to counter short-range rocket threats. The bill designates the funding as emergency spending, which is exempt from discretionary spending limits. And if you'll remember, Kevin McCarthy has been seen during the Ukraine events with a blue and yellow handkerchief hanging out of his pocket. I wish I had that picture pulled up, but I don't. Anyway, I guess that pretty much gets us to the closing of all this. I hope y'all learned something. And I'll be digging deeper for part 5. All I'm trying to do is shatter illusions, people. Cult of personality is dangerous. You cannot judge a book by its cover. But you can peek into the pages and figure out whether or not you actually like that book. You got to figure out whether or not you're buying into an illusion that's being sold to you, or do you really know the truths that you can find for yourself? This information is publicly available. I'm more than happy to do it for you. But please, by all means, feel free to do your own research. In fact, I highly recommend it. In fact, please leave a comment down below, and I'll see what I can do about getting back to you on it. I'm definitely more than willing to take feedback, and I hope that we can all learn more together. Anyway, that's all for now. This is G.I. Wingnut signing off. Shattering Illusions, Part 4.